Hello everybody, my name is Jordan Elwell with Nycorp. I'm here today at Terra Explore to showcase the new T100. I'm proud to announce they are stateside. If you want to work with a knowledgeable team to better your fleet, feel free to reach out to Terra Explore. We can also assist you with your needs. Without further ado, I would like to showcase the T100. Terra Explore was founded on the T60 chassis or basis, where they excelled selling these units, and then once they were able to import the T100s, then they went about doing so. So I can comfortably tell you that Terra Explore is on the forefront of the importation and ensuring that you get your drones on time. So, when you're talking about getting a drone on time, it's important to actually have inventory. It's important to not say, oh, it's on the water, it's coming. It's here. It's in front of me. Guys, this isn't AI. I have my finger on the drone. Yes, this is true. I'm touching the T100 right now. And in case you're confused, yes, it's a T100. When I open the wings up, or the arms, you will indeed see the serial number, or not going to show you the serial number, you will indeed see the model number be T100. So, the 60s are fantastic for specific use case models. Just like the T100 that I'm going to show you today, it's fantastic for those specific use cases. So if you think one drone is going to solve all your problems, that's a pipe dream. And I'll tell you one other thing. To think that you might not need a smaller drone for your application, being a farmer saying, boy, I need to spray 100 gallons or bust. Well, I'll be honest with you. In certain applications, in certain settings, you yourself know you're not going to spray more than 20 gallons of strong applicant to mitigate certain type of situations you run into. As you guys know, in Iowa, it's been damp and we've had rust. So with that being said, there isn't no sprayers getting into the field. So agricultural drones have been shining exceptionally well. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the T100. It just recently came stateside. 100 means yes. Good job, 100 liters. So it does have the capacity to do your jobs and to do them in a meaningful way. Yes, you can run 50 liters of fluid in here. Sure, no problem. But its main use case design is channeled around giving a payload of 80 to 100 liters of fluid concentration, depending on your density of fluid you choose to run, and the maximum disbursement, or being mindful of that disbursement over a larger swath of ground. So your 60s, your 30s, your 10s might be focused on, let's say, 1 to 5 acres. You're going to be looking at closer to 15 to 30 acres on a unit like this. So in other countries, they did come out with a 70-liter tank, and I reckon you could probably get it if you want to. But here in the United States, we're blessed due to our classifications and how the FAA acknowledges different classes of drones. We are able to run 100-liter payload capacity. So, as you can see, the build we're talking rock solid. Forget the carbon fiber, we're down to quality aluminum. So from the top down, we're going to talk aluminum, we're going to talk aluminum chassis, we're going to talk aluminum spray unit, and then these also separate completely like a sandwich. So if you're running multiple different chemicals for different applications within your farm crop, the T100 is going to excel. And it has to do with its buckle system. With 4 buckles, you guys can remove the entire top unit. That includes the battery module, that includes the arms and motor assemblies, along with the rotors, propellers, from the spray module. So, if you have 2 different chemicals you're running that cannot have any crossover, this is a wonderful platform to utilize. Along with that, it also has some extra features that I'm sure later on DJI might be adding, just because of how the covers are oriented and a few other things that I'm excited to talk about. So without further ado, let's open it up. So just like our other models, we're going to take our time, but what's really unique about this model in particular is when you actually open the arms, you don't have to do anything to these swing brackets. They automatically align into place. And then you do your final taper. Bam, done. Next wing. As you can see it rides this channeling that's pre-built in the ABS. So there is a very slight mixture of components, and I'll go through that here once we get set up. And I am tickled. I'll be very honest, I removed one of these engine covers, and then I found that there was no protrusions into the carbon fiber. So with that, you know that the carbon fiber will not get compromised. It's okay to have a glue joint, but when you start doing protrusions into carbon fiber, you lose your tensile strength. So with the older models, C modules were actually tethered directly through, and they had milled channels in the carbon fiber. And then furthermore, throughout the motor mounts, they also had milled screw holes. So what I noticed in repairing these in the past are, wherever you have some weakness within the carbon fiber, it completely starts to fray the carbon over time. And it doesn't start overnight, but the degradation starts and then it builds up with time. So yes, we have 2 motors per arm. I can comfortably say with the build quality design, we're not going to have any issues like what was on the T40. You're not going to see significant wing fatiguing or stress buckling. This chassis is a very well thought out constructed model, and why I specifically say that is they relocated the hinge joint. So when the hinge joint was actually attached to the airframe itself here, it created a very large area for failure. When you move the mount out to the middle of the arm, you're reducing that fatigue area and you're spreading it out over a larger surface area. Now, I also want to compliment DJI on the fact that they were able to fit the speed controllers in such a tight area. These speed controllers, this is where it might get a little crazy, guys, but I'm going to move the camera around, so bear with me. But the speed controller is absolutely fantastic. They have it all built in to one module. And then as you see the 3-port pin connections, it's going back to a traditional open source design rather than a proprietary built-in design. Now, another thing is, as I'm going around this beautiful drone, you can see the engine fluting that allows the air induction and heat dissipation out through the bottom chamber of the motor. So as air gets introduced through these upper fins, then it's getting extracted and out. One nice thing is this motor mount that they developed, rock solid, and this is cast aluminum. This here is ABS that is connected onto cast aluminum. The heat sink is pretty well vented. You can see it, and then you can see the proponents on the back side here. You can actually see the heat sinking over here. What's really neat about this design, guys, is when you have prop wash going directly over this area, it actually allows the air from the propellers to cool down these ESC modules. And the fact that the ESC module isn't 2 modules, it's 1 module built in, really makes that process nice. So coming on over to the side, as you can see, what they have done is they're not serializing the chassis per se and the system. They're just acknowledging the system and then serializing the chassis now. So you can see this is a DJI T100 spraying system. As I mentioned before, we got 4 latches, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. With those 4 bad boys, this whole upper piece comes off, and then you can switch tanks. So if you see these spray lances, I won't lie, this is one of the nicest joints that I've ran into. You can see the shock / spring, and then you can see how they molded the plastic to actually hinge on that. And they're still using atomizing spray lances, but what I can tell you is the design on them is going to be just slightly different. They've probably perfected the flow rates. Now, I'm looking here, and I also see additional ports that come standard from the factory. Yep. So right here, it looks like you can easily, without doing much, people, tether in your lances. So we have our traditional pump system down here that's associated with the tank, and then it comes through here to our flow meter, and then it disperses out to each motor. But then this nipple here will come off, and in theory, you could put any sort of spray lance or T-jet you want. You couldn't run a T-jet because we're running low pressure. You'd have to put a high pressure pump in line here and then tie it in. Definitely doable. Not recommended for the novice. So the back of this tank has a rear radar array receiver. One thing they did well with this system is they ensured to get the sensors out of the way. So bear with me. I'm just going to cover up the serial number here. Okay. So as you can see, we have the T100, and that is this beautiful airframe here. As you can see, they have went to a significantly upgraded banana connection. You're not going to have any issues with a connection like this. And then furthermore, the battery tray comes out on both sides, so you're going to get 2 tray buckles, and these suckers are rock solid. I don't see any replacements anytime soon. Now let's talk about the main cat's meow we got here. So yes, everyone likes sensors, including me. Well, I'm going to put us back in the mount here, people. And then we will talk sensors. So this drone, this aerial spray unit, has multiple different sensors on board. So one thing you notice is we're not inflicting with our spray area. As with previous models, we've had different units placed in lower sections of the landing gear segments that don't allow it to properly or easily get to that whole area to spray. So what they have done is they have migrated the sensors up to a different area, and with this beautiful LiDAR sensor or vision sensor, I can tell you that you can have 360-degree view excuse me, of your area of spray without degrading your movement. Now, when you have a single lens on the front of your drone that's downward facing, you have less capabilities to look to the right, to the left, behind you, to acknowledge from really a 360 standpoint on what is going on within your environment. And you're like, well, Jordan, why would I need that? The reason why is if you're spraying within proximity to some trees or other areas that might be taller or have inclusions within the farm field, you're going to be able to want to see multiple different angles as you spray rather than retorting this camera and then being mindful of your spray booms the entire time. If you do a manual flight spray option, you're literally going to want to go just around that tree. So you're going to use your obstacle avoidance sensor, vision sensors to view that tree, along with the acknowledgement of the radar or LiDAR explaining that it's within 5 feet of you. You'll be able to actually see where the actual tip of the leaf starts. As you can see on the side, they have included LiDAR. A lot of sensors. Sensors to me just mean more monies. I'll say less. Something awesome, really cool is that Terra Explorer had pointed out to me is we use all the same propellers, guys. When you are talking about spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on propeller kits, this is wonderful. So we're going to buy 2 propeller kits and they're going to handle all the motors. And I always recommend, well, people will recommend buy an entire set of props. I'm not going to argue with you, but not everybody has the money to buy a full set of props every single time. So I always recommend getting 2 sets of props. And that means 1 clockwise and 1 counterclockwise set. So that way you'll be prepared. Now, with that being said, the last thing I'm going to mention with this drone is, yes, it is big, but with the new system built in that allows the top to separate from the bottom and to remove the battery, this makes it manageable to pull out of the field and extract in one piece if failure occurs. At times with other drones, if failure occurs, there's going to be too much weight for 1 or 2 operators to pull it out of the field. And so with this hinge system, we'll actually be able to pull the unit out in 2, 3, or 4 pieces out of the field safely. And furthermore, if you've ever done a compass calibration on a drone this large, you're probably going to like the fact that the chassis separates from the spraying system. Just saying. So the spraying system offers two different types of fill ports. You can obviously do your quick fill. This is really nice to have built in from the factory. It has the actual nice gusseted stopper on here to not allow any product to come out. And then you're thinking, well, not allow any product to come out, how are we going to get airflow in? DJI got you. They have 3 air ports here. So we're going to allow the liquid batch to get some air, and then we're going to open up, and we're going to have a slightly larger conical filter than what's on the T60, the T50, the T30s. It's all relative to the size of the tank and then your flow into the tank. As I'm sure you guys have been aware, you can't just go ahead and quick dump 10 gallons in because you're going to choke your filter. So that's where having the right sized filter for your operation is nice. I can tell you I was leery running fluid in these filters, and after my first 2-3 times, I had no problem using farm water, and then at the end of the run, going through and just cleaning out the filter with the farm water, and then ensuring that I'm ready to go for my next spray. With this system here and the Talos T60, we have easy cleanouts, and I think this is a beautiful feature that we will start to see on more drones. I'll be very honest with you, if we don't start to see this, this will just be an addition. As you may have remembered, I can't remember Top's company, etc., but they actually sold a modifying adapter where you drilled a 2-inch hole in, and then you threaded their phalange in, and they gave you this opportunity. So they're taking that out of the equation. They know you're going to be quick feeding liquid. They know you're going to be quick battery swapping. And I think it goes to show with the pole on the 2 tabs, they mean business. They don't mean for some operator to press one more extra button. This is a really thought out design. Talos T60 shares this same thought out battery design for quick and easy swaps. So I think it's complementary. With that being said, I think this is a wonderful unit. And as you guys know, there is a local dealer in town. Terra Explore is the company. And I know we're showcasing, yes, the T60, which is a screaming drone on this photo behind us. But the future is coming. Now, there will always be a use case for a 10, for a 30, for a 60. But where you might see further value in a large farming operation is by going with the T100 rather than your T60s. Your T60s will work for your great small farm, but when you're ready to go and you really feel comfortable with your spraying abilities and you want to capture those extra acres that you know you're losing, this is a wonderful platform. It gives you battery life, it gives you great dispersion performance, and the motor capacity can definitely tolerate the payload. One thing that was very nice when we flew the Talos was that Terra Explorer's Talos drone has so much torque and throttle capability where they really forethought the design of capturing the amount of product that they were going to actually carry via payload. You can always size your drone for the correct payload. However, if you have somebody running a thicker density fluid than whatever the spec was with water weight, etc., you're going to need a little more torque in those motors. And that's where I've really seen the performance value excel. So if you're in need of a new drone and you've been looking all over the place, frustrated, and or just confused on what to buy, reach out to Nycorp, reach out to Terra Explore, and we'd be more than happy to help you get you the right solution for your operation. Whether you want to run 15 to 50 drones, or you're just one guy wanting the most economical drone to start off with, and you're eager to grow in the business, feel free to reach out and we can help. Guys, this is my review on the T100. I think it's awesome to say it's in my hands. The build quality is there. Even going, even touching the carbon, it's thicker. They're not using 1 mil carbon anymore. The joints are properly glued in. I see no areas of indication that they've taken any shortcuts. So with that being said, I'm going to call this a win, but without calling it a day, I have to do the 60 justice. And we have one here, so we're literally just going to migrate over to it. Guys, bear with me, here we go. As you know, and as you've seen in my videos, yes, I've talked about this bad boy. This is a heck of a drone, and it has a lot of different unique features that make it stand out from not only the DJI 40, 30, and 50, but it has complementary features that are now built in to the T100. So I can comfortably tell you they didn't make any backsteps or mistakes when they built this design. They built the T60 in mind for the consumer who's looking to get good payload capacity for a reasonable dollar and get that extended flight time. You're going to have close to the same milliamp hour battery as you do in the T100, but you're just going to get a little bit more range, and that has to do with spray coverage. So as you can see as well, the spray nozzles, the low pressure nozzles that use rotary atomization are down at the base here, as in traditional agricultural drones. The spray lance system is relatively new. I think it's smart for two things. The first is to minimize the amount of hosing going through your lines. When I say lines, going through any of your tubing to decrease the weight within your tubing. And then I also like the fact that they're more robust to where if that thing breaks, it's going to snap off, or you're going to use some heavy Gorilla Glue and some tape. When these spray lances break off, it's more of a delicate procedure, and you're going to most likely have to buy a new spray lance to get the orientation correct, etc. So each one has its pros and cons. I do want to compliment the motor mounts on this. They are CNC'd out of billet aluminum and they read quality. Just like how they've industrialized a lot of the components on here, they've taken it just a step further with the T100. So the questions are going to be running through your heads. All right, we've seen so much fast-paced growth in this industry. Am I going to be phased out with my investment spending $20,000 to $40,000 in 2 years? Well, if you would have asked me that question 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I would have said yes. The technology's gotten to the point where the payload capacity and the structural design justifies the associated cost, and once you are done utilizing your model or your current design and you're ready to do something different, you're still going to hold substantial monetary value because it's still going to be relevant. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, our technology was developing so fast that we were going from 1 gallon tanks to 4 gallon tanks to 5 gallon tanks, and everyone thought they wanted to be on the cutting edge and keep buying. Well, now we've gotten to the point of reasonable realm. And reasonable realm, in my professional opinion, is payload capacities that can do a meaningful amount of work. And there's 2 or more different types of work. I would say, the quick and large, which we have the T100 for. I would also say the use cases for having a T60 and a T100 at your locations would be 100% just, as they do take the same batteries. The crossover there, the reason why you would consider having both is if you need to do more long distance aerial spot spraying within your farm, you might look at a T60 series. If you just care about the flow rate and the amount of acres you're going to spray on your 400 acre farm, I would say you should probably have the T100. And yes, there's an argument for use case, even smaller scouting or multispectral drones. The technology's really getting better though, so I would caution you on spending 10 grand on a multi-spec camera right now. But with that being said, I think there's justifiable use cases for owning 2 sizes of drone model. And if you're looking at building out a correct fleet for your agricultural farm, you need to figure out the size of your fleet, and that has to do with how many pilots and how many acres you got to spray. And then what is the solution for getting those acres sprayed? And then what type of time period would you like to achieve that in? And once we figure out those parameters, then we can figure out the right drones for you. I could sell you a drone all day long, but if it's not the right use, you're gonna come back, you're gonna sell it back to me, or we're gonna have harsh words, and we don't want that. We wanna say the right solution the first time, whether it be for fish farming, agricultural needs, or other sanitary needs. We can assist you. These make fantastic mosquito atomizers. If you have large scale event space that you're trying to treat prior to events, you might look at a solution like this. So the use cases are getting to be endless, and we've reached the size to where it's now time to where you can comfortably acquire a drone and you're not going to be antiquated in 2 years. I hope this helps. Have a great day.